Hello again, Gills fans. Welcome back to Gills in the Blood TV for another episode. Something slightly different today on the back of the news of the Oxford United manager Pep Clotet getting sacked the other day. It got me thinking in terms of managerial casualties this season, not only in League One, but also across the rest of the divisions, obviously the Premier League, the Championship and League Two. And I found the numbers to be a little bit concerning. On the back of that, got thinking, with the January transfer window being open, should there perhaps be windows during the season where you can sack managers and other periods where chairmen are not allowed to act so hastily? But yeah, have a look at this first, Gills fans, and football fans if you're watching. You don't have to be a Gills fan to watch this, obviously. These are the people that have been sacked from League One this season already. So those managers there are Justin Edinburgh, John Sheridan, Adrian Pennock, Lee Clark, Chris Laketti, Phil Brown, Robbie Nielsen, and most recently, the inspiration behind this vlog, Pep Clotet. That is 8 managers, 24 clubs, 33% of League One clubs have parted company with their manager this season already in the first 6 months, which is, for me, very high. I don't know what your opinion is. If you're watching this, obviously it'd be great to hear from you on Twitter or Facebook, so let us know. But obviously it's not the only division where there have been managerial casualties. Those pictured there are from the Premier League. That is Frank de Boer, Craig Shakespeare, Ronald Koeman, Slaven Bilic, Tony Pulis, Paul Clement, Mark Hughes and Marco Silva. So that's another 8 in the Premier League, the elite level of English football. So that's 40% of the 20 clubs in England's top division have got rid of their manager this season. And if we look a bit further down, coming up on your screen now are the managerial casualties from the Championship this season. So in England's second tier, we have lost Harry Redknapp of Birmingham, Simon Grayson at Sunderland, Leonid Slutsky from Hull City, Gary Monk at Middlesbrough, Carlos Carvajal from Sheffield Wednesday and Mark Warburton of Nottingham Forest. So again, that is another 6. So that is 25% of clubs in England's second tier have parted company with their gaffer. And finally, in League Two, which is actually the safest division to be at the moment in terms of keeping your job. That was just Michael Brown and Gary Caldwell pictured of Port Vale and Chesterfield respectively. They are the only two gaffers to lose their job in the basement division this season. Barnet have had a couple of managerial reshuffles, but I didn't count that. Not that it improves the statistic a great deal. So yeah, this is what got me thinking, because in total, that is 92 clubs across the Premier League and the English Football League. 24 of them, which is 26%, have sacked or parted company by mutual consent, their gaffer this season. So it's over a quarter, with still 3 months or so to run. So that's probably going to see another few casualties, you would imagine, between now and the end of the campaign at the current rate. And even more concerning, of them 24 managers, by my rough calculation, 66%, which is 16 of them, are in their first full season in charge of a football club. So where's the stability? Where's the chance? Where's the time? I know I might sound slightly hypocritical now being a Gillingham fan, but I did try and say that Amy Pennant needed about 12 games to prove whether he was up to task this season in terms of getting his own squad in. But yeah, so that's the statistics, that's the names and the clubs that have got rid of their managers so far. So here now are my ideas in terms of managerial windows throughout the season. Right, so I've had a look at it, how the season runs. So obviously you get your pre-season campaign, which is generally middle of June, end of June through till August, which takes into account your pre-season friendlies, and then generally the season gets going in earnest first or second week in August, depending whether it's Football League or the Premier League. So I've broken it down, and my view should be, obviously the FA won't be watching this, or the EFL, that there should be 3 windows throughout the season where clubs are allowed to part company with their manager, unless there is obviously mitigating circumstances such as health or anything like that. But if it's a case of chairman just wanting to sack their manager, then for me there should be 3 windows. And the first one should be last 2 weeks of October. So that means that if you've got a manager, he's had a pre-season with his players, that gives him grace of all of August, all of September and the first 2 weeks of October to bed in any new players and sort out his team, which is around 8 to 10 weeks. Which equating into games is about 10 in the Premier League plus cup fixtures, and in the EFL it's around 15 league games plus cup fixtures. So for me that's sufficient time for any manager to prove their worth. An example being this season in the Premier League, Frank de Boer got sacked after something silly like 4 games after coming on board. How is Frank de Boer expected to have made any sort of impact in such a short space of time? Whether it's right or wrong and a replacement comes in and does better or worse, I just think you employ a manager and then you give him 4 games, it's absolutely ludicrous. So that's my idea for the first window, is that you get 2 weeks at the end of October. If you want to sack your manager, you can get it done then. My second window of opportunity for all you trigger-happy chairmen out there would be December the 1st to December the 31st, so you get a full month. Reason behind my thinking for this is obviously January transfer window. So if you decide as a chairman to sack your manager at the beginning of December, that new manager can come in and gets a good few weeks to assess the playing squad that they're to work with. Or worst case scenario, if a manager is relieved of his duties at the end of December, the worst case scenario is that a new manager can come in and at least has the January transfer window to try and recruit new additions to improve the squad to what he perceives to be a level he wants it at. So that would be my second window, the whole of December, December the 1st to December the 31st. And my final opportunity or window for managers to be given the bullet would be the first 2 weeks of February. So managers have had their January transfer window and all of that month. And this way, for any incoming managers new to the club, at least they've then still got a decent period of time to try and rectify whatever they're trying to rectify. and trying to achieve whatever they're trying to achieve, whether that's to get into a European place or a Champions League place in the Premier League, whether that's to avoid relegation, whether that's to get in the playoffs, avoid the drop in the Football League as well. In terms of games, that should give managers around 12 fixtures in the Premier League and around 15 in the EFL, again plus cup fixtures if you're lucky enough to have a cup run still going on towards the end of the season. And obviously these managers don't have the benefit of a January transfer window, so they are working with what they've got. So for that reason, I would say first 2 weeks of February you can get rid of your gaffer, and then after that there's nothing. You go to the end of the season with who you've got, because any incoming manager has to do that. So and an example in terms of that was going back a few years, I think it was 2008, 2009. Alan Shearer was employed by Newcastle, and I think he had about 7 or 8 games to try and keep him up. It's not going to happen. You need 3 or 4 games, I think, to you know, get an idea of how your squad plays and plays to its strengths and best systems. So then you're leaving yourself very minimal time to try and rescue a situation, especially Newcastle's case where it was to try and avoid the drop, so they had very little momentum or confidence. It might be slightly different if you get someone comes in on a short-term deal and the side's playing well and trying to get into Europe or something like that, like I've already said, or the playoffs. But generally, clubs are getting rid of their managers because they're not playing well. So that would be my final window of opportunity, the first 2 weeks of February. So basically, the no sacking zones are all of August and September plus the first 2 weeks of October. November is a free month for managers. All of January is a free month for managers. And then the last 2 weeks of February right through to the end of the season are free months for the managers, where they are allowed to get on with their job without the fear of the sack. Please let us know what you think of this. It's open to debate, which is what I'm trying to create. I want people to get involved, fans of Premier League teams, Championship teams, League One and League Two teams. This isn't just for Gills fans. I know that the name of my channel is Gills in the Blood, and predominantly I talk about Gillingham Football Club, but hopefully we can get something going across YouTube, across Facebook, across Twitter and any other social media platforms. But yeah, it's just my thoughts on it, and maybe there needs to be changes to the game, the modern game, to give managers more of a chance, because in the modern game, unfortunately, it seems that everything has to be done yesterday. You can go probably only 3 or 4 games without a victory now, and you seem to be 1 defeat away from the sack, which is absolutely ludicrous. I know there's a case to say that managers know the situation when they take jobs, and they're very privileged anyway, of course, but there needs to be something done. Because not only is it protecting the individual manager, it's also giving the incoming manager a chance, and also giving the club a chance in terms of staying up, or, you know, achieving what they want to achieve, whatever that relative aim is. So that's my thoughts on it. Please give me yours. Hopefully we can get some good discussions going. And until next time, up the Gills.